In the previous session, we have studied about the ovary, that is gynoecium, and also the arrangement of the ovules within the ovary under the part of the chapter called placentation. We have come across the 5 different types of placentations. So if you have to remember all the different types of placentation with appropriate examples, and also you should learn to write the diagrams, draw the diagrams of all the different types of placentations. Now in today's session, let's go for the next aspect of the chapter, that is the fruit. Okay, see, in the previous session itself, while talking about the gynoecium, we had seen the pistil will be consisting of 3 different parts: the stigma, style and ovary. While talking about the basal portion of the gynoecium, that is called ovary, which is the bulged portion or swollen basal portion, the ovary after fertilization, the mature ovary after getting fertilized, what does it become? It is going to become fruit. The ovules present inside the ovary, which are arranged on a flattened cushion-like structure called placenta, those ovules will become what? The seed, that is after fertilization. So basically, technically, what is a fruit then? Fruit is a fertilized ovary. Fertilized ovary is nothing but a fruit. Right? A mature ovary after fertilization will get converted into fruit, will be turned into fruit. But in some cases, we find the production of the fruits even without fertilization. In some cases, we find naturally also, or most of the times it is also done artificially for the market needs. Okay, for example, if bananas are more needed in the market, maybe if it is a festival season, then more number of the fruits are required, maybe banana, maybe or any other fruit it can be. So in order to meet the needs in the market, what the farmer has to do? He has to produce more number of the fruits, right? So in order to produce more number of the fruits, what is done here? Parthenocarpy is done. What is parthenocarpy? Parthenocarpy is a technique of production of fruits without fertilization. Parthenocarpy is a technique of production of fruits without fertilization. So those fruits produced without fertilization, fruits produced without fertilization are called as parthenocarpic fruits. Without fertilization are called as parthenocarpic fruits. Okay, see, this can be an important 1-mark question. What are parthenocarpic fruits? Can be an important 1-mark question. Remember this: the fruits produced without fertilization are called as parthenocarpic fruits, and that is why we usually do not see the production of the seeds within such fruits. Have you heard the seedless grapes? Or if you go to the market, you will easily find seedless grapes, even the seedless papaya, seedless bananas. The bananas which are naturally ripened fruits are there. Then in those bananas, if you cut open the banana, you will see the small black dot-like structures. They are nothing but the seeds of the banana. But if the banana or any other fruit is it is made to ripen, if it is made into a fruit without fertilization, then if that will be called as what? Parthenocarpic fruit, and it will not be consisting of the seeds. Why is that so? The ovary will be consisting of the ovules within, right? The same process of fertilization will lead the formation of the fruit, that is, ovary will get converted into fruit, and the same fertilization will convert the ovules into seeds. But here the fertilization is not at all taking place. There is no fertilization taking place, but still the fruit is formed. But because there is no fertilization, the ovules will not get converted into the seeds. But how the ovary got converted into fruit here? What is done here is, in this technique, is there are certain enzymes, there are certain hormones, not enzymes. There are certain hormones, the plant hormones you are going to study in the later chapter. So those hormones are naturally released after the event of fertilization. Okay, when the male and female gametes are fused within the ovule, within the female gametophyte, then what happens? There are certain hormones that are released in the part of the ovary. So these hormones make the ovary to turn or to ripen into a fruit, right? And the same hormones also will be responsible for the conversion of the ovules into seeds. That is when naturally when fertilization happens. But in the case of parthenocarpy, what is done here is that those hormones which are responsible for ripening of the fruit are injected to the part of the plant, that is the ovary or the flower, in order to produce the fruit. That means the hormone is supplied only to the ovary, not to the ovules, and that is why fruit formation can take place without the seed formation. Okay, so that is what is called parthenocarpic fruit. And when we look into the fruits, there are different types of fruits, right? So if just you observe the mango, banana, papaya, right? They are fleshy fruits, right? So if you compare with the other types of fruits where they appear dry, okay, like coconut it can be, right? Or it can be which one? The fruit of this one, badam, even the fruit of eagle marmalose, that is nothing but even bilpatre hannu nodidira neevu. Eagle marmalose means bilpatre, right? So the fruit of that also, right? So it is very hard, right? And it is also dry. But whereas mango and all, they are very soft fleshy fruits. So based on the texture of the fruit, so the fruits are broadly classified into the fleshy fruits and the dry fruits. Okay, dry fruits means ನಮ್ಮ common language ಅಲ್ಲಿ dry fruits ಅಂತ ಯಾವುದು ಕರಿತೇವೆ, ಗೋಡಂಬಿ, ಬಾದಾಮ್, right? These are all commonly called as dry fruits. But dry fruit means where in the morphology chapter we are talking about the appearance of the fruit and the texture of the fruit. Based on that we are classifying them, right? So whatever kind of fruit it can be, so fruit will be having the wall. That means that there are different layers in the fruit, and all these different layers, they comprise, they make one entire wall of the fruit. The wall of the fruit is called as pericarp. The wall of the fruit is called as pericarp, and in some fruits this pericarp is distinctly divisible into 3 different parts, especially in fleshy fruits like that of which one? The mango. Have you seen a mango? See, in the case of the mango, how it will be? The outermost layer, mango tindidiralva, the outermost layer, the skin, okay, so that you can easily remove, right? And then you will get what? The fleshy layer here, right, which is very juicy, which is edible, right? So this is nothing but the fleshy layer here, right? And innermost layer will be a hard stone like structure, right? Hard stone like structure, very hard it is. So that is nothing but the seed. So now this is a kind of which fruit? It is a fleshy fruit. So this is a fleshy fruit. And if you consider another example for dry fruit, you can give the example of coconut, right? See, I am drawing the broken coconut, that is the opened up coconut now. See, in the case of coconut, what do you observe here is this coconut will be having a fibrous layer in between. The outermost layer will be green in color. The outermost layer will be green in color, and the middle layer, it is made up of fibrous thread-like structures, and the innermost layer, which is edible, will be white in color. Yes? Have you noticed this in the coconut? So this is a kind of dry fruit, and this one is a kind of fleshy fruit. And in both cases, you can actually divide the entire fruit into 3 distinct parts, and such a fruit where we can distinctly classify 3 distinct parts, they are called as drupe. See, such fruits they are called as drupe. ಯಾವುದು ಮೂರು ಡಿಸ್ಟಿಂಕ್ಟ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ನಾವು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೇವೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ದ ಔಟರ್ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಎಪಿಕಾರ್ಪ್. ಓಕೆ, ದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಇನ್ನರ್ ಫ್ಲೆಶಿ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಮೀಸೋಕಾರ್ಪ್. And the innermost hard seed, the stone like part, will be called as the endocarp. Outer epicarp, middle mesocarp, inner endocarp. Remember, outer epicarp, middle mesocarp and inner endocarp, all of them together form the wall of the fruit, and the wall of the fruit is called as what? Pericarp. So this pericarp itself is divided into 3 different layers, that is the epicarp, mesocarp and endocarp. And even here, similarly in the case of the coconut also, the outermost layer, tender coconut, elneerannu nodirbeku. So the outermost layer will be in what color? Green color, right? So later it will become brown when it becomes completely dry, right? And when you remove that outer layer of the coconut, what will you see? The fibrous thread-like structures, yes or no? And that is what is going to form what? The mesocarp. The middle layer, that is what is called as mesocarp. And the white layer, the white layer which is the edible portion of the what coconut, that is nothing but the endocarp, right? So here what do we actually eat in the coconut is nothing but the seed. The edible part of the coconut is what? Seed. In the case of the which one? This mango, which is the edible part, the fleshy layer, that is the mesocarp. Here it is endocarp, here it is mesocarp, the edible part, right? So this is the case of the mango and coconut. See, both of these, they are called as drupe. What is a drupe? See, there are different types of fruits. Drupe anta kariteve, berries anta kariteve, right? Or it can be achenes of drupe, achenes of berries, eterio. There are many different types of the fruits. Let me consider that later in the CET class. Okay? For now, what is required? What is drupe anta niಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಬೇಕು. Drupe means it is a type of the fruit developed from monocarpillary superior ovary. Monocarpillary superior ovary. Okay, that means the fruit is developed from a single ovary, ಒಂದೇ ಓವರಿಯಿಂದ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗಿರುವಂಥದ್ದು, and that ovary, it is not consisting of many pistils or many carpels, it is consisting of only a single pistil or carpel, and that ovary is what? Not inferior, not half inferior or half superior, it will be superior. Andre ovary will be above all the other parts of the flower. See, this is the ovary, right? So all other parts like the calyx, the corolla, androecium, gynoecium, all of them are arising from the basal portion of the ovary. Okay, see, this is what is called as what? Superior ovary anta kariteve, right? So superior ovary, such fruit which is developed from a single ovary, that is superior, they are called as drupe. There are different types of fruits that we can consider later in the CET class. So this is what is needed for now, right? So now we can talk about the seed. This is all about the fruit. Now let us talk about the seed. Seed. See, you already know what is a seed, right? Technically, the seed is what? The fertilized ovules are nothing but what? Seeds, right? So, ovules after fertilization become seeds. That means technically a fertilized ovule, right? You can write or fertilized ovule is a seed. is called as a seed. Right? So, in the case of the angiosperms, as we are studying about the morphology of the angiosperms, in the case of the angiosperms, we find basically two different classes of the angiosperms. So, as we find two classes of angiosperms such as monocotyledons and dicotyledons, we also find the basic difference of the seed with respect to the both classes. Right? So, monocotyledonous seed will be different from that of the dicotyledonous seed. So, let us first study how the structure of the seed will be there in dicot, and then we can go for monocot. But before we go for the detailed study of the dicot seed or monocot seed, so we need to know what does a seed comprises of, what does it consist of. Seed will comprise of the parts, the main parts of a seed are basically an embryonal axis. This embryonal axis will be consisting of a radicle. Radicle means, you know, radicle and plumule gottide nimge. Radicle is the portion of the embryo which will later develop into the root. Plumule is the structure of the embryo which will later develop into shoot. Right? So this embryonal axis will be there, right? And also the cotyledons will be there. Cotyledon or cotyledons, because in the case of the monocot seed, there will be only single cotyledon, whereas in the case of the dicot seeds, there will be two cotyledons. And apart from that, see, there will be also what? The endosperm. Okay? See, the endosperm means it is a nutritive tissue produced as a result of double fertilization. Only in the case of the angiosperms, there is a particular type of fertilization that is called as double fertilization. And during the double fertilization, a nutritive tissue is formed within the seed. Nutritive tissue means what? See, while the embryo grows, embryo means what? Zygote is formed after the fertilization. The male and female gametes fuse to form the zygote. This zygote will become the embryo, and embryo will later become an entire plant body. In order to grow into an entire plant body, the embryo will require lot of nutrition, lot of food material. That nutrition, that food material will be provided to the embryo mainly from endosperm. Okay, most of the angiosperm plants, the embryo in the most of the angiosperm seeds, they acquire, they extract the nutrition from the endosperm. So these are the three main parts of a seed. Now let us study the dicot seed specifically first, and then we can go for the monocot seed. So the dicot seed is present in the dicot plants. The characteristic feature of the dicot seed is what? See, it will be consisting of two cotyledons. So these two cotyledons are present, one each on both sides of the embryonal axis. If you cut open, if you take a vertical section of a dicot seed example yavudu kodabodu, you can take the example of the groundnut, right? You can take the example of pea plant, right? You can take the example of even the sunflower, right? So these are all the various examples for any dicot seed. So you take the vertical section of the dicot seed, and what will you observe is a portion like this. See, this is the embryo. This is the embryo. And it will be consisting of two main parts. This is called as radicle and this is called as plumule. And the embryonal axis will be flanked on both sides by enlarged what? cotyledons, bulgy enlarged cotyledons which are fully stored with the food material. So this is one cotyledon, this is another cotyledon. So these cotyledons, they store a large amount of the stored food material, and that will be used for the growth of the which one, the embryo, right? For the further growth of the embryo in order to produce the entire plant body during germination and all. Germination anta helidre ಒಂದು seed anna, whenever you sow a seed, whenever you take a seed and keep it into the soil and you provide the necessary nutrition and water, it will grow into a plant, it will germinate into a plant body. Yes, in order to germinate, it will require a lot of energy, and that energy is stored in the form of the stored food material in the cotyledons. Then what about the endosperm? See, endosperm, though it is present, it will not be retained until the germination of the embryo. Andre, there are many processes which are taking place, right? So this endosperm may be utilized completely by the embryo or even before the germination. That means there are certain seeds which will not have any endosperm left at the time of seed germination. Seed ಮೊಳಕೆ ಹೊಡೆಯೋದು ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಲ್ವಾ ನಾವು. ಸೊ ಮೊಳಕೆ ಹೊಡೆಯುವಂತಹ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಎಂಡೋಸ್ಪರ್ಮ್ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇದ್ರೆ those seeds are called as non-endospermous seeds. Non-endospermous seeds. So example ಯಾವ್ದು ಕೊಡ್ಬೋದು? The seeds in which the endosperm is not present at the time of seed germination. So the example for that you can give pea, right? And even the example you can give such as bean, gram, bean seeds, gram, like Bengal gram, green gram, right? Horse gram. These are the different examples for non-endospermous seeds. That means these seeds, they are going to make use of that stored food material directly from the cotyledons. Stored food material is in what form? It is mainly stored in the form of proteins and the starch. Okay, and there are certain seeds, they are called as endospermous seeds. Endospermous seeds means what? That means in these seeds, the endosperm, the triploid nutritive endosperm, that is still there at the time of germination, and the seed is going to make use of the nourishment that is from the endosperm. The stored food material will be provided from the endosperm, and such seeds are called as endospermous seeds. And the example for that is castor seed. The best example for that is castor. Castor ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾವುದು? ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಔಡಲ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೇವೆ, ಹರಳೆಣ್ಣೆ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿರ್ತೀರಿ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಕ್ಯಾಸ್ಟರ್ ಆಯಿಲ್ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಹರಳೆಣ್ಣೆ, right? The plant that is castor is nothing but, so it's an example for the endospermous seed, right? So this is regarding what? The dicot seed, right? Now let us talk about the monocot seed. Yes, before we go for the monocot seed, let me tell you little more information about the dicot seed here. See, the dicot seed, how does it look like morphologically? It looks somewhat like this, right? So it will have the two cotyledons, and both cotyledons are bifurcated by a scar. Scar ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ ಇಲ್ಲಿ? There is a very insignificant, very light line running all across the seed in between the two cotyledons, right? This is one cotyledon, this is another cotyledon, and this is a scar, and this scar is called as hilum. Hilum is the scar present on the dicot seed, which will be running all across the seed in between the two cotyledons, and hilum helps in the attachment of the seed to the fruit wall, helps in attachment of the seed to the wall of fruit. Remember what is hilum anta kelbahudu? Remember this is the definition of the hilum, and there will be a small opening at this particular position. Have you observed whenever you soak the groundnut seed or any dicot seed for that matter, ನೀವು ರಾತ್ರಿ ಎಲ್ಲ seeds ಅನ್ನ ನೀರಿನ ಪಾತ್ರೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಿ ನೆನೆ ಇಟ್ಟರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? Next day morning you are going to see the sproutings. Yes, so they are coming out from this particular opening, and that opening small pore is called as micropyle. It is called as micropyle, through which the radicle comes out. You know already what is radicle. Radicle is the portion of the embryo which will later give rise to the root, right? So that will come out through this micropyle, right? So this is how a seed will look like in the case of what? The dicot seed. And every dicot seed will be having covered by the seed coats. There are two seed coats. The best example for this is groundnut. Okay, in the case of the groundnut, there are two seed coats. Outer seed coat will be different and inner seed coat will be different. Outer seed coat will be called as outer testa. Inner seed coat will be called as inner tegmen. Testa and tegmen are the two layers of the seed coat in the case of a dicot seed. Okay, remember this. So seed coats are two layers only in the dicot seeds, not in the monocot seeds. And outer layer of the seed coat will be called as testa, and inner layer of the seed coat will be called as tegmen. Testa and tegmen, remember this, right? So this is the information all about the dicot seed. Now let us study about the monocot seed. So let us now learn about the monocot seed. See, monocot seed, as the name itself suggests, it will be having a single cotyledon. And one peculiar thing that you need to remember about the monocot seed is what? The monocot seed is almost all monocot seeds are, almost all of them are endospermous seeds. They are all endospermous seeds. See, in the case of the dicot seeds, we had observed what? Some of the dicot seeds may have the endosperm till the germination of the seed, right? Some of them may lose the endosperm even before the germination. And that is why we can classify the dicot seeds into non-endospermous and endospermous. Whereas in the case of monocot seeds, almost all of them are endospermous seeds only, right? And in this case, you need to practice the diagram of the monocot seed here. See, I will explain along with the diagram of the monocot seed. See, it will look like this. You can give the example of the maize, wheat, jowar, any of these examples. So this is the monocot seed. It looks somewhat like this. And it will have a single cotyledon and a large bulky endosperm here. See, the large bulky endosperm covers most of the region inside the seed, and this endosperm, it is surrounded by a proteinaceous layer called as alluron layer. See, the yellow layer what you are seeing is the alluron layer. So this is the wall of the fruit and seed. Wall of fruit and seed. Have you observed in the case of the maize? Have you observed in the case of the wheat, jowar, or even in the case of the rice? Ali fruit yavdu seed yavdu gotte agudilla. If I give you maize now, can you differentiate which one is the fruit, which one is the seed? In fact, both of the coats, the seed coat and the wall of the fruit, they have been fused. Okay, so this is the fused layer. This is one layer which is nothing but the fusion of the wall of the fruit and wall of the seed. Okay, seed coat and wall of the fruit. And this layer is bifurcated, or it is differentiated, or it's separated from the endosperm. This is the large endosperm. So endosperm anna ee layer ninda differentiate madidyaru. It is differentiated from that layer by the proteinaceous layer called as alluron layer. See, this layer will be called as alluron layer. This layer is called as alluron layer, and at one portion, at one side of this particular seed, there will be what? Embryonal axis. On one side of this, there will be the embryo. which will be having the radicle and plumule. And see, if this is the plumule and this is the radicle, there will be a covering, protective covering, even for the plumule and for the radicle. The protective layer for the plumule will be called as, for the radical it will be called as coleorhiza. For the plumule it will be called as coleoptile. Okay, see, this is the embryonal axis that we usually find, and see, this is present in one shield shaped cotyledon. This is the shield shaped cotyledon, single cotyledon. That is what is called as scutellum. Scutellum. Okay, see, scutellum can be a very important 1 mark question for you. What is scutellum anta kelbodu nimage? Scutellum is nothing but a single shield shaped cotyledon of the monocot seed. A single shield shaped cotyledon of the monocot seed is called as what? Scutellum. Okay, so this diagram can be asked for 5 marks. Remember, this is a very important diagram and you need to make all the labelings properly. Remember one thing, you have already written a test now. Some of you have written two tests, unit test, and some of you have written 1 test. And diagrams were asked in the test, and many of you have drawn diagrams without any labelings. Keep one thing very clearly in mind, any diagram in biology without a labeling will carry 0 marks. Okay, usually in this case, whenever diagrams are asked, each labeling will carry only half mark. Adon ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ತಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ನೀವು. Labelings are very important and you should not make any spelling mistake while making the labelings. This is a very important diagram for your academic year. See, the same seed, when you look at from the outside, when you take the cross section or vertical section, it looks somewhat like this now. See, maize seed and now example ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. Maize seed looks somewhat like this, right? And here this is completely the endosperm. This is nothing but the endosperm, right? And here there will be what? This is nothing but the embryo. This is the embryo. So this is the single cotyledon. That is what is called as scutellum. This is scutellum. This is the embryo. Okay, and this is the endosperm. This is the seed coat and fruit wall fused layer. So this is about the monocot seed, right? So it can be asked only for the diagram, or you may be also asked to explain the diagram along with the this thing, explanations with all the labelings, right? So in the next session we are going to study about the other aspect of the chapter, that is about the families. The 3 different families we are going to learn in this chapter. So 1 monocot family and 2 dicot families we will learn that in the next class.